So these problems ain't about, it's about testing developers. It really is about testing the developers, kind of the way they solve problems. That's what it's supposed to be about. The way they problem solve, the way they think about complexity and algorithms. Do you know how the algorithms you're writing scale? And it does matter in a job. Like, I have seen bad algorithms in real life scenarios where they access some sort of database, or they do some sort of expensive operation. If your algorithm is using too much runtime memory, that's why we talk about space complexity. If your algorithm is using too much runtime memory on a real machine in a real environment, if you exceed the RAM, it's either gonna cause a crash, or it's gonna cost you more money, your company or whoever, more money to either vertically scale the server to get more RAM, or horizontally scale, or whatever the case, because your algorithm is bad. And so a bad algorithm, as the scale increases, as you might be fine with 12 users, but when 1 million users come in, now you're exceeding the RAM. You're having to scale your system unnecessarily, when a better algorithm that makes better use of runtime memory could save your company a lot of money. So that's why this algorithm stuff matters. And the number of operations you're doing on time complexity matters if you're doing expensive operations. So not just about using memory, but let's say this code, you wouldn't do this code in a real life scenario, this exact problem. But let's say I had this while loop, and inside of here, instead of doing these stupid nonsensical things in here, let's say I was calling an API that cost 1 token to call it. And let's say my algorithm was not optimal, and I was making exponential calls. Like, if my size of my string was 5, I was making 25 calls. I was making like exponential, n times n calls. So like, let's say if it was 1 million, then I was doing 1 million times 1 million calls. And so instead of using 1 million tokens, I was using 1 million times 1 million tokens, which I don't even know what number that is. That's a lot of money that you're wasting, if you just did a better algorithm. If possible, if you can optimize. Sometimes you can't optimize, but if you can, that's why it matters. Like, and I have seen developers write bad algorithms, like you just see it. And so now that we're moving into, of course, we're moving into times of AI, where AI is going to write a lot of this stuff. But AI right now, as is, it can still make mistakes too, and it can still miss context. If the context window doesn't have what it needs, it can still make mistakes. It can still write an algorithm that it doesn't know is bad, because it doesn't have all the context it needs to know that it's bad. It doesn't know about this other thing over here that's being used in a whole nother service somewhere that the context window doesn't have. Like, there's still a lot of problems where AI can't catch every single inoptimal thing, so it's still good for us to know about this, at least in 2025, July 2025. It's still good for us to know about it if you're still working as a software developer. So it ain't over for this type of knowledge and knowing this kind of stuff. But yes, AI is coming, and I believe that companies are gonna start doing less and less leak code challenges and start doing more like AI assisted challenges, where they ask you to build stuff with AI, and like, how fast can you build it? Can you explain what you did? Do you know what you're doing? How do you prompt the AI? How do you get the context window right? What instructions do you give the AI? Stuff like that. I do think we're gonna start to build more with AI, and that's gonna start to reflect in the interviews. But for right now, at least as far as I know, I know somebody that just was interviewing with Facebook, and they're still asking these kind of questions. Like, so, Facebook is the main company, like Zuckerberg, or one of the main companies that's talking about AI is gonna write everything, but they're still asking leak code questions in their interviews. So this stuff you hear on the news ain't always, and you see on social media, ain't always matching up to what's happening in real life. Like, I know somebody that literally just went through the process with Facebook. So, and they were asked leak code problems. So, like, these companies are still doing this stuff. So I get it. Every day we just seeing new posts and stuff. AI is taking over. AI is doing everything. But literally, the company that's having posts about it every day on social media about Zuckerberg talking about AI is writing 50% of the code. We're not going to be coding anymore, blah, blah, blah. His company is still, as of like a few weeks ago, still asking leak code questions like this, like the one I just did. So I'm not saying don't believe everything, but take everything you see with a grain of salt and like look at what's actually really happening. Like look on Glassdoor and see what problems people getting asked. Look on blind.com, see what problems people are getting asked day to day. And when I see that start to change, and when I see the anecdotes start to change that I'm hearing about personally, then that's when I'll, probably stop doing these problems. Or when I go on my next interview run, whenever that is, and I start to see, I see that they're not asking these questions anymore, then I'll stop working on them. Because I'd be happy to. I didn't even want to start working on leak code until I started the last time I was doing major interviews, and I wanted to interview for these big companies, and they were asking leak code, so I had to step up on it. So that's just how we, what we're running into now. So